Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Dan Rubenstein. It is not the normal studio that we use to record. It is about 15 minutes later than usual here, but alas, we are back with the Verballerhood on this Saturday night, I guess Sunday morning, depending where you're at. We were just at the Penn State-Oregon game. We hustled down here to our recording bunker on the south side of State College.
Yeah, buddy.
We made it. I'm sweating. I'm a little bit hoarse. We've got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yes.
We were just at a double overtime thriller between Penn State and Oregon. Your Oregon Ducks get the better of the Nittany Lions by a 30-24 margin. Full disclosure, this was the game that we watched the most intently.
Yes. This is the only game that we watched intently.
On week 5. So we have notes, some thoughts, I guess, some snap judgments as to what we saw or what results we saw around the country that we can react to. We do have an all-star cast of reverbs that we will get into in just a little bit. Maybe if we have some time, we could take some YouTube questions or just some YouTube thoughts. Being so, we weren't able to watch as many games as usual in week 5. But Dan, where do we even start here? I guess follow or subscribe if you are watching this late at night or early in the morning. If you want to help us out, verballers.com is where you can go.
We walked a half hour to this basement studio setup, and your car is still in the parking lot somewhere. Yeah. I don't even remember what lot it was. We hoofed it and hightailed it because we needed to get this show here. The name of this, or the theme of this show, is it appears Iowa State had a really good Saturday, right? It appears. Drop more detailed thoughts. We're going to do a more detailed recap of all of these games. We're going to watch all of these games intently. It appears it's a good thing that Alabama beat Georgia. It appears that the ending of Illinois USC was super exciting. It appears that it was a magnificent week 5 of college football. Unless you are a fan of half of these teams. But it appears if you are just a college football fan and your team won or lost, but you got to watch a bunch of other games, it appears you had a really fun week 5. So we are going to do our best. We obviously watched Oregon Penn State super intently, and we were able to walk around tailgates and catch parts of other games. We saw parts last night of, that was last night, right?
Yeah.
I'm all off. Florida State, Virginia, Knowles going down to the Hoos. And then, of course, TCU coming up just short against Arizona State, and Houston took down Oregon State late as well.
Right.
So we're going to do our best. We have thoughts. There is going to be, like, as Ty likes to say, a part 2 of our week 5 recap.
We will definitely get into that and much more. And
Let's do it.
Keep the comments coming if you're watching us live on YouTube. We'll pull some of those on screen here. Let us know your thoughts on what you saw today. What was most meaningful to you, what you think is going to be the most meaningful going forward. Why don't we set the stage for the people who are watching now, who are listening at home?
Yeah.
You flew in on Friday afternoon, or I guess Friday morning. We drove up here on Friday afternoon. We spent Friday night in State College, hung out with some friends. We spent the better part of today. I'm going to give a shout out to some of the many folks that invited us to their tailgates. We had more than we could possibly get to. If we didn't get to yours and you invited us, you will be hearing from us. We will definitely reach out and thank you.
Let's talk the game. Let's talk the game.
Let's talk about the game.
Let's talk about the game. We have lots of shows that people can listen to hear about our magnificent journey. I was blown away by the back and forth of this game. I was entertained thoroughly. Obviously, I came away more relieved than happy given the ending of the game, but the way in which Oregon was able to weather driving down the field some, but not finishing in the end zone, the way Penn State was able to make plays when it mattered kind of on defense the first 2 or 3 quarters, was super impressive. Penn State's defense did plenty to win this game. You know, they didn't always get off the field with Oregon. The time of possession stat for a lot of this game was skewed pretty heavily towards the Ducks, but the Oregon offense made plays. The Penn State defense made a bunch of plays. The 2 big things were the resilience from both of these teams, right? It was Penn State on offense going down 17-3, having Fire Franklin chants come from the student section, have, in our experience, not super thrilled people with Andy Kotilnicki, the offensive coordinator for Penn State, with Drew Aller. And for Drew Aller, largely leading a rushing attack for Penn State on the ground, giving the ball to talented running backs, making the plays at the end. Really good play calling to lean in what Penn State was suddenly doing really well, which was wearing down Oregon's defense and Oregon's front. Drew Aller also had a magnificent pass to the end zone to, I think it was Devontae Ross.
Yeah.
The resilience from Penn State to tie that game and eventually send it to overtime. And then the resilience from Oregon in that setting. We didn't watch this game on TV. I can tell you very specific things about how this stadium felt near the end of that game. If you were to hear that volume, if you were to hear and feel that energy in the stadium, you would say to yourself, as I said to myself, I could barely think, I don't know how Oregon is able to do anything with what is around them.
Yeah.
And the defense they're playing against and how everything seems to be stacked up against them when a win seemed pretty in hand. And for Dante Moore to make the plays he made, avoiding DDS and making that touchdown throw to, I think, Gary Bryant. And then, of course, throwing an interception on the 2-point conversion, then Dylan Thieneman coming in and icing things on a pass that was not floated in the way it probably should have been. I can't believe Oregon walked away with a win. I can't believe Oregon had to play this as a game after going up 17-3.
Yeah, the guys in front of us left.
We had people leave.
People were leaving when it was 17-3. And you know what? Of course, in hindsight, I'm sure they feel like fools.
Yeah.
Because it was an instant classic. But in that moment, as well as I, Penn State felt dead to rights.
Yes.
Because the offense was stuck in the mud. The offense offered no pop whatsoever.
Right.
It wasn't until that ensuing drive where maybe it was that touchdown, lit a fire under Drew Aller, under Andy Kotelnicki, under the offense, under the team.
Yep.
To sort of breathe some new life into this. The duality of Drew Aller to me is, we've been talking about this, as you know, for years now, right? It feels like forever with this guy. We're always kind of waiting for him to kind of realize that 5-star potential. But watching him up close and personal and seeing how the crowd reacts to him in real time is not something that we're used to seeing on our couches every Saturday.
They're not super fans.
Right. And of course, you have people cheering him on, but there were a lot of boos out there. My hunch is that it wasn't all for James Franklin or the play calling, but a lot of that was for Drew.
Yeah.
And he went an overwhelming stretch of this game. We were watching from our seats. Penn State kept running routes over the middle, high-low, mesh, whatever you want to call it, right? This is not an X's and O's show, but they were doing all of those things, and he had guys that were open. Now, he also had a lot of pressure. It's easy for me to say this sitting where I was saying, oh, he's got a guy open. He had pressure, but there were moments in that game early when he didn't.
Right.
And he missed guys.
Yep.
And then there was especially a moment, I guess, towards the end of the first half where play didn't come in on time. There was a false start. You saw him sort of unravel for a few plays where he's just throwing them just completely wayward.
Yeah.
That side of Drew Aller represents the worst of him. The best of him is what we saw on that drive where they came back down the field in a handful of plays. What was 4 or 5 plays? I don't even know how many it was, and hit Devontae Ross in the corner. A layered throw. That's an NFL throw.
Sure.
Right. So you kind of get both of them every game.
Yeah.
And I even said to you at some point, we really haven't had that near interception. There was that play early where he threw,
as he was being sort of pushed back.
There was a play early where it was a questionable decision, but in terms of truly throwing it into traffic, in terms of truly trying to thread something over the middle, we didn't see it until the very last moment.
Yeah.
And so my hunch is that he's going to take that pretty hard. And I think it's probably very easy to gang up on him, given the fact that he threw that interception. But I do think this is one of those moments where you got to give him credit because his first half was really bad.
Yeah.
He was missing guys all up until that point when Oregon went up 17-3. And it was at that point that, be it through the air, on the ground, whatever they had to do, to your point, it doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to work.
Right.
He did step up. He did answer the bell. It's a shame that it worked out the way that it did for him and for Penn State with the way that they fought back. Oregon was the better team for the majority of that football game.
Yeah.
So I think Oregon absolutely deserved it. But Penn State fought back. Aller fought back. Aller led the charge. And so I think if you're a Penn State fan, obviously this is disappointing. Like, we walked down to our recording bunker here and we heard the chorus of people around us using flowery language to talk about Penn State. Oh man, in another situation like this, oh my, what are we going to do with Franklin or Aller or Kotelnicki? I mean, you name it, you can spread enough blame to go around for sure. But I think the fight that they showed in this one it's certainly not going to hurt them when it comes to a playoff conversation.
No.
To go into double overtime and lose to a team like Oregon, who could well be the number one team in the country.
Sure. With
what we saw out of Dante Moore on the road. I actually, in a very weird way, you want them to get over the hump, but the way that they fought back, I actually found pretty impressive. Now, they had a lot working for them. They're playing at home at night in a whiteout.
Yeah.
Right. And that's an inherent built-in advantage, but nonetheless, it felt like they were dead and they came back to life. So for that, I think they deserve a lot of credit.
It was also just the emotion in the stadium, both on the field and in the crowd. It wasn't just the frenzied atmosphere when Oregon was on offense or the excitement when Penn State was coming back. There were some calls, there were some non-calls that.
Yeah. So there was a very questionable call, a controversial call in that fumble.
Right.
That we, of course, did not get a great look at.
No.
You were getting text messages from Jeff Schwartz, who said he was down. Yeah. I was getting text messages from friends who were watching at home.
Unbiased narrator, Jeff Schwartz.
Yeah. And on both sides, right?
Yeah,
friends of mine were saying that you can't overturn that fumble. Obviously, the people around us were, they were feeling like it was, a BS call, as you might expect. But alas, that went Oregon's way. Alas, that was helpful.
It was a blade of grass situation that Noah Whittington's knee was hitting a blade of grass. There were a couple of complaints about non-holds. I don't know if Oregon fans have complaints. This is not something that I was able to watch on TV and see like clear replays of. We were in the stadium and, the Penn State replay operator was trying to sell a story to Penn State fans, which he or she very well should.
They kept replaying it and then rewinding it and replaying it.
Yes. So there were calls that seemed to raise the ire of a lot of people, and I'm excited to watch this game from a TV perspective. But man, the swings in this game were crazy. And we had circled this game as had a lot of people before the season, like Oregon going cross country, new Big Ten team going to play against Penn State. Then it was going to be a whiteout, by the way, as good as this game was, this is what Fox doesn't want you to see, a whiteout at night between two strong teams, right? So hopefully it was a good watch for people on NBC.
Let me just say, I mean, I've been to a lot of Penn State night games.
Yes.
I've been to, some that are better than others. The experience of a full-blown whiteout. Last one that I was at, the last whiteout that I was at, is the same one that you were at.
Yeah.
It was the Jimmy Clausen game back in like 2007. So it's been a minute. Obviously, we do this show. Time doesn't really allow us to do these night games, maybe the way that we would like. It is truly a bucket list experience for people who have never experienced it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a Penn State fan. I can't say enough great things about the experience of it. Getting to the seats, walking around the concourse.
You have notes, operations notes.
That was an absolute disaster. And I don't know how much of that is due to ongoing stadium renovations.
Right.
But all I know is coming back from the bathroom, there was a woman to my right having a panic attack, a kid to my left who was about to puke up his guts.
Yeah.
And everybody going nowhere for about 45 minutes for like 10 yards. So if Pat Kraft is watching, maybe try to do something about that after you fix the press box. But alas, that's a different conversation for a different day. The stadium itself, though, inside, watching that all go down, I mean, it's very, like, I have this watch on. It goes off when it gets to like 90 decibels. It was buzzing the whole time.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's a loud experience, but one of those truly great like college football moments that you just can't experience in most places.
I have a lot of thoughts, too many for the night when there are so many different games to say it appears that it's blah, blah, blah. Goosebumps. Yeah. Absolute goosebumps. A perfect college football atmosphere. 1 of 1, A+. You take your pick. The whiteout exceeded my incredibly high expectations. Penn State fans were to the man, to the woman, to the kid, whatever. Incredible college football fans, loud when they were supposed to be loud, in their seats as long as they weren't having panic attacks or throwing up in the concourse. Like, I don't have a single note about the Penn State fans, about the whiteout experience, just that it like nearly brought tears to my eyes that it was like a semi-religious experience.
It was great
to go to this type of game.
I will say, you can kind of see the green under there. Dan had the green t-shirt. And after that controversial call, looked at me and said, get a little nippy in here.
I'm going to put on my Navy pullover.
Get a little nippy in here. Maybe I should. Yeah. That was when it started getting a little bit testier, as you might expect. But no, overwhelmingly, I think the fans were really good hosts. And, I was glad to be there with you. It was a cool experience. We got to see this game.
Nobody I'd rather go to a Penn State whiteout with.
It was awesome.
And I got to say, this is not a victory lap. This is not my intention at all here. But anybody who has experienced something similar to what I'm about to say will understand what I'm saying. There is nothing in college football like a roaring crowd, like the frenzied Penn State whiteout crowd. The only thing that comes close is when your team goes to that crowd and turns it into a library.
Right.
And Oregon at the end of that game, because it was such a sudden moment, and I didn't cheer. I didn't go, hooray, yippee, whatever. I just noted that obviously Penn State fans weren't cheering when the team was on offense, but to hear a play, I think the announced crowd was like 111,000 people. Pin drop deflation at that moment. And that's the beauty of sports and the horror of sports all in one.
The only other time in my life I've experienced that was the 2005 Notre Dame Bush push loss.
Yeah.
And we had a much better vantage point of what went down tonight. But I recall very vividly everybody looking around, knowing what happened, but almost in disbelief. Nobody could.
We got to go home now.
Nobody could understand what happened. And I tell the story often, but like my friend and I drove back to our hotel. We sat at an Applebee's and ate boneless wings, and we didn't speak to each other for like 45 minutes.
And then you kissed.
We weren't mad at each other. We just didn't. We didn't know how to emote because of what we saw. And this felt very similar. I was wondering on the way up here if we would have some sort of instant classic experience like that. I'm glad we did. Obviously, I wish the outcome were a little bit different. What does this mean now as an Oregon fan? What does this mean now as we kind of put together this Verballer top 12, verballers.com, if you were interested in voting in this poll? By the way, you know what? I'm just going to open it up to everybody.
Yeah.
Please. So if you just go to verballers.com, you can sign up whether you're paid or free. This is a big week of games. I want to get everybody's input. I think it's fair. Going out there, sign up now. The link goes live at 7 tomorrow morning Eastern time. Vote in the poll before, midday Monday, and we'll read it off on the next episode, or the Tuesday episode, I should say. But for the audience at home that is trying to kind of make sense of this, and we have a few other games that we can react to the results without having watched them in great detail. Where should Oregon fans, where should non-Oregon fans / college football fans put this? I have some thoughts, but you're the Oregon guy. You should probably go first.
Oregon went into the toughest atmosphere on their schedule this year. That is coupled with an incredible defense. You couple atmosphere and defense together, there's nothing on their schedule. Washington is a tough place to play. Washington does not have Penn State's defense. That is not a controversial statement to make. They won that game, and they are ahead of schedule because this year's team didn't seem to be the kind of team with the experience needed to go to Penn State and win against this type of defense and this type of atmosphere. So that puts Oregon ahead of the schedule I thought they were on. That means Oregon, like going undefeated this year, seems reasonable to think about now, whereas it didn't a couple weeks ago, as good as they've looked, or even in the preseason. So Oregon looks like one of the best 3 teams in the country right now, something like that. That's how I feel at the moment, given what teams have or haven't been tested. Now, certainly we're going to, unpack a lot of the games that happened among the teams in the top 10, 12, 15, 20 that could be potential playoff teams. And I think Penn State's a really good team. I think Oregon's an excellent team. Penn State has the potential to be an excellent team. It's late September. You're not who you are as a finished team in late September. So Oregon might go through growing pains, have some injury issues, knock on wood. Penn State might have growing pains or injury issues, knock on wood. But it just appears that these two teams have the potential to be excellent with a larger if for Penn State.
Where do you put Oregon in your Vaballer top 12?
I have to watch the other games before I can say with certainty. But
you got to move them up. Right, you got to move them up after going to Happy Valley, winning at a whiteout. I mean, I'm not saying they should be number one, but I think it warrants consideration given the fact that they came into this setting, and I mean, it was a gritty. They did. I'm not gonna say they gave it away, but they did let Penn State into it. You know, maybe because Penn State started calling different plays and executed better. I don't know. We have to rewatch, but I think the takeaway for me on the Oregon side, and I mentioned this to you when we were up there, but it's definitely a recurring theme throughout college football this year, where so many of these quarterbacks, and we could maybe talk about Ty Simpson a little bit here.
Sure.
But like so many of these quarterbacks that felt like a question mark coming into the season, most of them are going into their big games now completely unfazed.
Right.
Dante Moore did not look phased.
No, the moment was not at all too big for him with the throws he made, the high leverage moments that he just seemed bigger than.
I mean, you could make a case that Aller seemed more phased than Dante Moore for a good chunk of this game. And he was playing at home and the crowd was at his side, at least for most of the game.
Yeah.
But whether it's Dante Moore, whether it's Ty Simpson, who went to Georgia and won, whether it's any number of new quarterbacks. I mean, I could throw CJ Carr out there, but CJ Carr probably isn't as, notable on the national stage at this juncture, being so they have 2 losses, but so many new quarterbacks seem like even if you go, JKS at Cal, like so many of these new guys seem like they've been able to step in and just be really affected and unfazed by the big. Bryce Underwood's another example. These guys who just seem like they're.
Jaden Mayava almost beat Illinois today.
They're ready for it, right? So I think I was damn impressed with Oregon coming in and winning this football game. Again, we need to go back and kind of watch the tape, but and to that end, I was impressed by Penn State and their ability to come back. So 30-24 was your final double overtime. Let us know down in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Write in solidverbal@gmail.com your thoughts on this game and how it affects maybe where you're ranking these teams. It won't hurt either when it comes to the playoffs. Clearly, I think the committee will respond well to a game like this. It was on a razor's edge.
Yeah.
Right? In the end, it was on a razor's edge the way that Penn State came back and made it a game. So,
also, I'm going to look directly at camera. Dan Lanning played De'Aaron Hill as often as you would like to, because he seems to be an excellent running back in a way that could be super beneficial for the Oregon offense. Hill
and
Corey
Moore, 2 true freshmen who are having just an incredible impact for the Oregon Ducks.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's the game that we were at. Bear in mind that as we go through some of this other action, we did not get to watch any of this stuff in quite the level of detail that we would prefer.
Correct.
That doesn't mean we can't react to it, because we are as plugged in as anybody's going to be.
Yeah, tell me what you're excited to learn about these games.
Yeah.
This is your reaction to the result. What are you excited to see when you look at the back and forth of these games?
Well, I'm excited to look at the Bama-Georgia game in particular, because we were able to kind of get some of the scores and get some of the feedback from people on what they were seeing in the Bama-Georgia game, which ended up being close, 24-21, but seems to be another situation in which Ty Simpson was dealing.
Yes.
And outside of that first game that we saw against Florida State, Ty Simpson has been money. He's been incredible. And so this was another opportunity for him to, I think, get some redemption after that opening loss.
Yes.
So to go to Georgia and win against, look, I don't know if it's as good a Georgia defense as we've ever seen. Probably not. Probably, a few rungs down, but it's still a Georgia defense and still in Athens.
Alabama was shut out, by the way, in the second half of this game.
In the second half.
And I think Kirby Smart is now 1-7 against Bama, something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
But Bama never trailed in this game. Ty Simpson scored 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing.
Yeah.
They didn't turn the ball over
on
the road, which is important. Georgia did fumble the ball back, did give one back to Alabama in this football game. But it was the passing game that was the difference. It was Ty Simpson, it was Jeremy Bernard. The way that they were able to.
He's real good, by the way. Ryan Williams rightfully gets a ton of attention. Jeremy Bernard is good. transferred over from Washington.
I think what I'm most interested in seeing, though, is the Georgia game plan, because the
Yep.
note sheet that I have that Jake kindly put together for us, thank you, Jake, if you're watching, his comment was that it didn't seem like Georgia threw the ball nearly enough.
Interesting. Okay.
And
Because they ran well, it appears.
It appears, and we know that that's sort of default mode for Kirby Smart, but I'm curious to get a better sense for the rhymes and rhythms of this game to understand
Sure.
why that happened, if that was just the flow of the game, or if that was a more curious decision by, Georgia on the play calling side.
I got a squeaky chair here, Ty. It's okay.
It's okay.
I'm comfortable.
It's okay. So that for me, I think is going to be imperative to understand a little bit more about. And, obviously Alabama gets a big win now. The people were very quick. I was kind of one of them to write off. It's a
long season.
Write off Alabama after that loss to Florida State. We could talk about the Florida State game.
Man, I don't know.
We could talk about that. We did watch that one.
Yes.
But I'm most curious, I think, to get a better sense for the flow of this game and how it impacts how I feel about both of these teams now moving forward.
Great.
I think that for me is a big one. We could talk about the USC Illinois game.
Yeah.
So Illinois kicks the last second field goal. They end up winning 34-32. We were watching this one as we were hopping between tailgates.
Correct.
And it was basically a shootout, right? We saw 500 yards, I think, from Illinois, close to 500 yards from the USC side of things. If you look at the stat sheet, based on what we saw, it certainly appeared as if both teams were doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
But Luke Altmaier a little bit more efficient. Luke Altmaier a little bit more pop in the passing game. USC on the road, weird kickoff time.
Yeah,
we talked
a week after last week's weird kickoff time.
A week after one that we saw a week ago. Yeah, and so we were curious about this point spread.
Right.
And I think I made the comment that I would buy the Tommy Trojan helmet. I would wear the Trojan helmet if the USC found a way to cover this point spread. There were certainly moments in this game where you kind of wondered, like, all right, USC could probably zoom out to the lead and cover this point spread. So it was never, at least up until the final gun, it didn't seem like that was that far gone a possibility. But Illinois to fight back after getting throttled a week ago.
Yes.
Against Indiana.
Yeah, it's more resilience. Yeah.
Is I think another thing, more to the point of, you lose. I don't want to sit here and say that Illinois is a playoff team. I feel like Illinois is a playoff team, but
long season.
It is a long season.
They're 4-1 4-1.
A lot of stuff can break. And I think this was a quality win at home against a good USC team, maybe not as good on defense as we thought a week ago.
We think it was a good win,
but
gotta watch and have figure out opinions.
To bounce back in the manner that they did.
Yeah.
I'm most curious, I think, to see how they went at USC.
Right.
And to that point, what USC's defense looked like against a better offense.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing we've been touting, the SC defense. The offense, I think we expect we're going to have a pretty good offense if it's a Lincoln Riley team. But defensively, if there was a big step forward there, that would be the talking point, and that could be the thing that catapults them forward. But
agree.
We didn't see it. It doesn't mean it's not better. It just means we didn't see it in this game.
Right. Agree. Yeah. I mean, look, they didn't let Indiana beat them twice, and it's a tough spot for USC, but USC put themselves in position to win that game from what I could tell.
Yeah.
Apparently Gus Johnson had like a crazy moment when USC took the lead with, I think, a little under 2 minutes left. Excited to watch that, of course. But good for the Illini. That seems incredible of them to be able to get down the field and kick that game-winning field goal. It appears it was a great moment for Illinois.
Yeah.
I think
the game that I think I am most interested in watching a little bit more is probably this LSU Ole Miss game.
Give this a quick reset for people just tuning in now. We didn't watch a lot of games today because we were at the Penn State Oregon game. And so our schedule of giving more detailed recaps is going to be a little bit different this week.
Yeah.
Thank
you for watching.
We haven't had a lot of thoughts about the Oregon Penn State game, and we'll have many more thoughts about the rest of these games.
LSU Ole Miss is the one that I'm most curious to go back and learn a little bit more about. So Ole Miss did get the win 24 to 19. They won by 5. It was a Trinidad Chambliss game. Again, he was outstanding. Just as he has been.
Yeah.
314 yards and a touchdown. It was his third straight 300-yard game. 385 yards from scrimmage. I don't know how you can bench him at this point. Like, you have to ride the hot hand, even if Austin Simmons is back and healthy.
Right.
Ole Miss now goes from a very interesting situation of losing Jackson Dart. Obviously, he's a first-round draft pick. Go Giants. Now, suddenly, in the offseason, we're talking about Austin Simmons. He's young. He's got a lot of potential. Kind of like all SEC potential by the time he kind of matures and becomes his finished product, I think is still a fair assessment for him.
For sure.
But Trinidad Chambliss, a guy who, if you kind of read, I was talking to you about this earlier, if you read what people have said about him, Temple thought they were going to get Trinidad Chambliss from Ferris State. But Ole Miss swooped in kind of in the 11th hour. They were able to get him to Oxford. And now Ole Miss is in, I think, the enviable position of having real quarterback depth and a quarterback controversy in the best possible way, because you got to ride the hot hand.
Right.
Now, LSU's defense, I'm probably most interested in seeing what they looked like against Trinidad Chambliss, because that has been the side, much to the point of like USC, we're talking about defense. We've been talking a lot about LSU and their defense lately. They still only gave up 24 points. So I want to see what that looks like. My hunch is they still played pretty well. They just couldn't stop him.
Right.
And so how that kind of projects now moving forward on the LSU side is interesting. Ole Miss is a really interesting case now, because Ole Miss is one of these teams that before the season, with a lot new, the schedule, obviously it's like not as tough as some of their peers.
Correct.
Right. And to kind of now pick up this win to do what they've been doing this season, it does raise some questions about how high is too high for Ole Miss at this point, now that we're through September.
Right.
So that for me is going to be really, really fascinating to go back and watch.
Yes. So no Caden Durham for LSU. We talked about this a little, that he was, I think, after last week, questionable with an ankle injury. But it seemed to be, the Trinidad Chambliss show, both on the ground and through the air. And this puts Ole Miss, they were top 15 heading into this game, gives them a new, interesting signature win. I think LSU is probably going to be searching a little bit more with offensive stuff, just because it was another week where it doesn't appear they could move the ball super consistently, any means, any direction. Yeah. So, Ole Miss is, Trinidad Chambliss going to go to Temple, and now is all of a sudden not single-handedly, but becoming a major reason that the SEC race could be affected by Ole Miss.
It's wild, man. And I'm real curious to see, are we going to start hearing people talk about Trinidad Chambliss as a Heisman contender?
Yeah.
Seriously, because it's wide open. It's truly wide open.
A productive quarterback on a top 10, 12, 15 team. Sure.
I mean, truly, we could be talking about Dante Moore and Trinidad Chambliss. And I don't even think that would be out of character. I mean, at this point. So that's something that we got to go back and dissect in a little bit more detail. I also think, kind of on the flip side of quarterbacks that are stepping up, there are situations, particularly in the SEC, where we're going to see and hear a lot more about teams that have not stepped up.
Right.
Arkansas got throttled by Notre Dame. I did not see that one coming. I didn't. And people warned us.
In Fayetteville.
People warned us.
Yep.
No matter what you think about Arkansas and their offense, the vibes are really bad right now.
Especially at an 11 a.m. kick. Yeah.
11 a.m. kick. And I wrote back to some people, and I was like, Notre Dame's defense is a real problem right now.
Vibes aren't great there.
Arkansas has been playing pretty good offense. I don't think they're going to stop them. And the overwhelming response was, no.
Right.
You don't know the vibes.
It's cute that you think that.
It's cute that you don't know the vibes right now in Fayetteville.
Right.
Turns out they were right.
I mean, by the time you listen to this, who knows what Sam Pittman's job situation is going to be. Yeah.
There's probably going to be a lingering question about Hugh Freeze.
Sure.
Hugh Freeze lost to Texas A&M in a bit of a rock fight, 16-10.
Yep.
But Jackson Arnold did not look good, from what I understand.
One touchdown. I don't know. I don't even know if it was on offense. We'll see.
They could not run the ball at all.
Right.
Which they actually have been okay at doing.
Right.
But when you can't run the ball, that puts more pressure on Jackson Arnold. And if Jackson Arnold isn't the truth, then suddenly your offense is in a world of hurt. They only scored 10 points. Now, A&M's got a good defense. And I think we saw that on display.
Well, maybe they do. They did get lit up by Notre Dame.
Notre Dame could have a good offense. Again, it's early. We're sort of talking in circles here. But I like A&M's defense. I liked it before the start of the year. I still like it now. Auburn's got a ton of talent.
Yep.
So you would expect that they would get a little bit more out of that. They win by 6. I guess they don't cover the 6.5 point spread that we talked about all week.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a conversation, I think, about Hugh Freeze before long, because this is a team that's built to win. They went out. They tried their best to bring in the best possible talent via the transfer portal. And to a large extent, they did that. But if they're not getting those W's, that's a problem. So I got to go back and see what happened here.
His line does not seem like it was a fun day to be an Auburn fan. I think he averaged 3 and change yards per attempt.
Tennessee, Mississippi State.
Yes.
41-34.
What do you hope exists on the tape when you watch it?
I just want to watch Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Honestly,
this is tight. Yeah.
I did not see this one coming either.
Okay.
And Mississippi State is very quietly one of the better stories in college football right now.
Definitely.
They had an over-under of 3.5 before the start of the year. And they have fought tooth and nail pretty much every week.
Mm-hmm.
Whistle to whistle, they have been a really hard out.
Sure.
And they look like night and day compared to where they were a year ago.
Yeah. They weren't out until tonight.
So, I mean, I'm pretty thrilled to go back and watch the tape on this one, just because it doesn't seem like it was just kind of a fluky situation from afar.
Sure.
From what I've been able to glean in like a half-hour walk after the game. But it seems like their defense actually played like relatively well, despite the fact that they gave up, points against Tennessee, 41 points. But
I see Joey Aguilar had a couple of picks. Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like the defense, which was a huge Achilles heel for Mississippi State last year, it seems like that defense stepped up in a big way.
Yes.
So I'm curious to see what
we
find out a little bit more out of there. The other games here that I have down on my note sheet are 2 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Washington,
mm-hmm.
Indiana, Iowa.
I know it was a sloppy start for both of these teams, Washington and Ohio State, and they were eventually able to get going. I don't believe the 6 from Washington came from a touchdown. I think it was 2 field goals. So Washington was fully held out of the end zone in their own stadium against America's number 1 team at the moment. That's just what happened. I don't know. So we'll see what happened there. Curious to see how Julian Sand handled. I think he was very accurate, it seems, how he handled that sort of the energy in that stadium, because that can be a very tough place to play. What was the other game you said? You said Washington,
and then the Indiana-Iowa game.
Yes.
Which was very close for a while. And Indiana's in this weird kind of let down, look ahead-ish situation, right? And the fact that they had their hands full with the Iowa defense, I guess, and they were down fairly late in this game, is something that we definitely need to go back and take a look at. Now, I think it's probably more of a letdown effect, but I also think it's a little bit more meaningful on the Indiana side, because that's one of the things we like about Indiana, right? We don't usually, I shouldn't say we don't usually, we haven't over the last year and a half seen much of that from Indiana,
right?
Because they seem to have that killer instinct every time they go out there. The fact that they had this little bit of a hiccup now on the road against Iowa maybe shouldn't surprise us. It is on the road. It is in the Big Ten. It is a good defense, but I just thought for sure they would come out guns a-blaze. And I don't think Fernando Mendoza looked all that great for a chunk of this game.
Okay.
So, we need to go back and get a better understanding for where Indiana's at before they start playing.
It's also just tough. If Iowa's defense is at least pretty good, if not good, you're still talking about going to Iowa City and beating a team with a good defense, as that team is an underdog, which is the reality of the situation. So we shouldn't be terribly surprised that Iowa turned a game ugly at home defensively. That seems like the most normal thing that could have happened.
Are there any other games on your radar, or any other things on your radar that you're interested in knowing a little bit more about here? Just based on, again, these are snap judgments,
right?
Not having watched many of these games. By the way, if you are watching this live, I would encourage you to drop something in the chat. Let us know maybe the most impressive thing you saw today, maybe the most interesting thing that we need to go back and watch throughout the course of the day.
Yep.
A snap judgment, perhaps of your own. We'll get to those a little bit later on in the show. I'm really curious to hear what people had to say.
I haven't watched much of. I watched the first half of ASU TCU. So
Florida State, Virginia. We
did watch.
What the hell, man?
Some early Florida State mistakes, some turnovers, and Virginia taking advantage. Florida State coming back. Thomas Castellanos looking good and then not so good. And then going to overtime, does Chandler Morris have a hand injury? Doing everything himself. All of the good stuff and bad stuff kind of came down to Chandler Morris making plays. And of course, getting the game-sealing interception in double overtime, was it? And the Who fans rushing the field.
That, by the way,
yeah,
we hope everybody is safe.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want anybody to get
a
hurt.
bonkers scene. Yeah,
but I can't ever remember a field rush that happened like 2 milliseconds after the game ended.
They were in the end zone.
They were still in the end zone, and suddenly the entire stadium had emptied out onto the field. So I hope everybody's all right. I did not have a chance to read and look and see if anything came of that. So I reserve the right to revise these statements at some point. But alas, at least the visual of that was pretty wild.
I didn't have the courage to take Virginia outright, I believe, but I did take Virginia there because it was a good situational spot. And I talked you into it, but I don't think either one of us had the courage to take Virginia, and Virginia pulls it out. The Who's do it. And I don't know, it was just Virginia's been playing well, especially on offense, and Miami is on deck for Florida State, and it's short week going on the road. It's just a tough spot. I don't think terribly less of Florida State, to be honest. I want to watch this game again because I still think they can win a ton of games and be a playoff-ish team.
Yeah.
So good for Virginia. It's been a slog for Tony Elliott there. Some absolute lows from like a pure life perspective with the tragedies at Virginia, and then some highs early this season where it looks like they were turning things around. They're definitely turning things around via the portal, via some new energy in Charlottesville. And so a really good story in the ACC and nationally definitely fits Virginia's situation.
So Virginia in conference is undefeated. They did lose to NC State, but because of scheduling quirks, that was not a conference game.
Correct.
They're 2-0 in conference. Right now, they're tied at the top of the conference with Georgia Tech, who had their hands full with Wake, and also Duke.
Had to come back and beat Wake.
Had to come back and beat Wake for sure. But one of the more interesting, I think, quirks now moving forward for Virginia, this is their remaining schedule. Okay.
I'm ready.
At Louisville.
Tough.
Home against Wazoo.
Winnable.
At North Carolina.
Winnable.
At Cal.
Tough because you're going to the hinterlands of the Bay Area across the country, but not a bulletproof team.
Home against Wake Forest.
I would say tough, but not impossible.
Wake's a tough out.
Yeah.
They're going to be a tough out. On the road at Duke. That'll be a tougher game.
Duke had a nice story today. Obviously, no Steve Angeli for Syracuse, but Duke blew out Syracuse on the road. So that hopefully is a turnaround moment for the Blue Devils.
And then they close out the Commonwealth Cup at home this year against Virginia Tech.
Winnable. Everything's on the table for Virginia.
So it's kind of weird that we're talking about the Who's, but more power to them.
Yeah.
That was a pretty big win at home, Friday night lights in overtime against Florida State.
Yeah. By the way, Virginia Tech also just beat NC State, who beat Virginia.
Right.
Good for Virginia Tech. UCLA put up a fight against Northwestern, if I'm reading this all correctly.
That's right.
After falling down 14-0, 17-0, whatever it was. So, yeah, you can't be sure of anything in this moment other than Dan Lanning should be running Dyer Hill more. That's it. Okay.
All right. So here's the deal. If you are watching live, keep the comments coming. We're going to pop some of those up on the screen. We also got some.
Stanford came back, beat San Jose State. Cool.
We also got some thanks that we got to give out to the community, some of the folks that helped make this weekend possible for Dan and I.
Yes.
We can't let that go a minute longer. First and foremost, Avery, who has graciously donated his basement to this cause this evening. We would not be able to do this. I think it looks awesome. I think like even as is,
we've done way worse.
This looks better than every other college football podcast in like
on the road.
Yeah, on the road for sure.
Take that, everyone.
So big thanks to Avery for making all this possible. I want to give a big shout out to Walt and Helen Nur, who were our heroes in helping us get our tickets, get into the stadium. That was a bit of an ordeal in the run up to this one. So without them, we would not be here. We would not have seen the game. They made all that possible. I also want to give a big shout out to everybody who invited us to their tailgates. I have a huge list here, Dan, of everybody who invited us. If you sent in an email, I did jot it down. We could not make it to all of them.
No.
We just ran out of time.
And like Wi-Fi and 5G access to like find everything.
Yeah, with 111,000 people, it was a little bit sketchy there
dicey.
once everybody started rolling into town. But shout out to Dave and Ryan and Carl, Zach, Kevin, Jake, Jeremy, Benton, Michael, King, John, Charlie, Ryan, Ben, Tyler, Andrew, Mike, Dave, and Nate. And there are probably about 5 or 6 others that I can call out that wanted to meet up, maybe didn't have a tailgate or just in town for the game. If you sent in something, you will be hearing from us. I promise you.
Yeah.
Because we got some goodies we're going to send you. But thank you to everybody who kind of made all this possible. It was a ton of fun this weekend, to say the least.
Agree.
So, I'm absolutely thrilled that we got a chance to do this. All right. So we got some comments that have rolled in here, Dan.
Okay, hit me. And while you search for the comments, shout out San Diego State for a baseball score win of 6-3 over NIU.
6-3?
6-3.
Oh my
gosh.
Win
however you can win. Win your clunkers. A lot of teams did. Winning 6-3 should make you feel zero shame because you got to win. Continue.
Psych says that Trinidad Chambliss might be the best quarterback in the SEC.
Whoa. I don't know, man. There's some good ones. Lenore Sellers plays in the SEC. Diego Pavia plays in the SEC. Whatever Ty Simpson is plays in the SEC. Marcel Reed plays in the SEC. But I can't tell you with authority that Trinidad Chambliss isn't the best. I got to watch it.
It's time to get Aller out of there.
I think that's just nature is going to run its course. This is his final season, no matter what he tries to do.
We did have a brief conversation at some point in this game. And we wondered, like, is there an Ethan Grunkemeyer conversation in the second half?
Oh, like he'll like
if
Drew
things
Aller
don't
will get like Will Howard did.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for your service. We're going in a new direction.
Right.
That's a good question. I mean, I think objectively, Drew Aller is fine. I'm just not a believer in Drew Aller as somebody who has arrived as a top flight quarterback. And same.
I think the interesting part of this, though, is because of Bo Pribula's success.
We think
at Mizzou
far
he's been good so far.
Sure.
But because of Pribula's success now, and I was getting messages from people about this during the game,
right?
You know, a separate friend group talking about this. There are some folks who believe that the offense we are seeing Penn State run is an offense that would have been better suited for Pribula.
Sure.
Because they're doing a lot of this weird Wildcat stuff. I mean, we saw them have the most success later in this game on the ground.
Right.
Right. Once they kind of realized that they couldn't do whatever they were trying to do through the air, it wasn't working. They were able to kind of get, you know, whether it was Aller on the move on a quarterback draw, whether it was that sort of misdirection play that they did down at the goal line.
Yeah.
You know, they ultimately made some nice throws, but it was, I think, what they did on the ground that kind of got them back in this thing.
Yes.
You can make a pretty strong case that that's more of Pribula's strong suit, and that maybe he would be a better fit.
Sure.
You know.
But you can also make a case that Drew Aller could light up the Kansas defense and the UMass defense in an identical way that what Bo Pribula has done at Mizzou. So we'll see.
Okay. Some other ones here that have come through. Let me pull these up, Dan. Robert gives us a super chat saying, Illinois, are they back? Bro, they just got here. I don't know.
I guess.
I don't know if Illinois is back, but I guess after getting beaten by 53.
Let's just try to feel what an Illinois fan would feel here.
Well,
is Illinois back? Yeah. They just beat a ranked team.
It's been a whipsaw over the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
Right. To lose by 53 on one hand, and then to go out and to knock off USC, who's definitely more of a traditional blue blood, and a team that we started to get excited about.
But still has a lot to prove.
Still has a lot to prove in their own right. But yes, in that sense, I would say they're back. In that sense, I would say that they're back. Now, maybe circumstances kind of aided them a little bit, but still, you gotta win the game. And I was pretty impressed to see that they ended up emerging from that one. Okay.
I would say Ethan Kaliak-Manis is back in a losing effort. Sure.
Yeah, apparently my soundboard's not working. So
sorry. Burp, burp.
And I just figured out why. So that's good.
I
Okay.
said it. I said turn it up on your iPad.
Yeah, no, that's my bad. Well, Game Day going ahead announced that they'll be in Eugene in a couple weeks.
For Indiana, I don't know what other games are happening that week, but that certainly seems attractive. Eugene shows out for Game Day. Yeah,
they do. They do show up for Game Day. Nick says, "Is it time to talk to my kids about BYU? Is BYU still losing to Colorado?"
No, I think they're up at the moment. BYU is up 24-21 as we are recording this.
Okay,
and streaming this live.
I mean, look, it's pretty well documented at this point that BYU is that team that I pretty consistently undervalue.
Yeah,
and I don't know why. I have nothing against BYU, but
their quarterback's name is literally Bear.
His name is a bear. He's a literal bear.
Yeah, he is a literal bear.
He's a literal bear. So there's about 8 minutes or so left in the fourth quarter right now at time of recording.
They'll creep up the rankings. Yeah,
24-21.
If they pull it out.
BYU, yeah. If you want to talk to them, you can. You can absolutely talk to your kids about BYU.
Next.
It's the same weekend as Red River, that Oregon.
Yeah, Indiana game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tough to justify. Yeah.
It is tough to justify. Nick says Allert is back. Okay, so we've got kind of competing sides of this. Thank you for pitching into the effort, Nick. We appreciate the super chat.
Great.
Indiana is 100% legit. So Indiana came out of nowhere last year, makes the playoffs. This year, throttle Illinois on the road. A week later, they go to Iowa. They have a little bit of trouble. Maybe don't show the same amount of killer instinct. But I think it's hard to argue at this point that Indiana isn't going to be part of this conversation second half of the season at worst, right? Because based on what we're seeing, what they've done on offense, what they've done on defense, seems to me like they're better.
Yeah.
It seems to be like it's a better version of what we saw a year ago.
Maybe.
Seems at this point.
Yeah, it seems at this point, right? They were good enough to blow out
Look,
Indiana.
you can say this about everything. We don't know. Of course we don't know. It's week 5. But based on what we know so far, it seems that to me that they're a better version of what we've seen before. And that's pretty exciting.
Well, if Fernando Mendoza is healthy, then he is a better version of Curtis Rourke because Curtis Rourke just wasn't healthy last year. I think Fernando Mendoza's ceiling is higher. Yes. So that just automatically means that Indiana is likely going to be better with a better quarterback.
Here's one. Louisville pulled out a wacky game against Pitt, or the ACC contenders. I think the ACC is wide open.
Sure.
I think it's Miami up here, and I think everybody else is beatable.
Okay.
I think we saw that with Florida State going down.
We saw that with Georgia Tech almost going down.
We saw that with Georgia Tech almost going down. I think there is a lot of variability below that top team, and I honestly don't know what to expect. So I would not want to write off Louisville. Louisville went on the road. Yep. Louisville got a tough win, and it was Miller Moss getting a close win in crunch time for a different team, not USC. If it would have been USC, maybe it would have gone a different direction.
And by the way, your team that's up here in Miami is going to Tallahassee to play a night game next week.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
All right, last one here, Dan.
Please.
What stimulants is Dan Lanning consuming?
Excuse me.
Don't die.
I'm the stimulants I'm consuming, Dan Rubenstein, not Dan Lanning, is Flonase. Is that stimulates thinning out of whatever's going on in my passageways? Dan Lanning is just high on football electricity and maybe smelling salts and B12 injections at opportune moments. I don't know. I haven't watched his I saw that he hugged Dante Moore after the game. It was very emotional. But I haven't seen any press conferences or any clips. I'm sure this person is referring to a clip of Dan Lanning losing his mind, which tracks.
It does.
He wears it all on his sleeve. It's great.
It does. Yeah. I mean, he's a psycho.
Yeah.
I think you have to be a psycho in this day and age to be a pretty good college football coach.
He's a maniac. I love it in the best possible way.
Definitely fits that bill. Yeah. Thank you to everybody who has joined us here to watch this. So Dan and I are going to put together a plan to figure out the best way to cover the games that we did not have a chance to watch throughout the course of today.
We need to figure out a plan to get me back to the suburbs of Chicago. I have a flight in like 11 hours.
We're working a lot of this through on the fly, guys.
We're a solid 3.5 hours away from the airport I need to get to.
We're working our way through this.
It's step by step.
So give us a little bit of grace as we feel our way through this.
We didn't eat dinner. I'm now just realizing. And it's 1:12 a.m. local time.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you to everybody who tuned in.
Yes.
If you want to hear the version of the reverbs that Shay so graciously put together.
I'm not wearing pants. Sorry.
He is. I can't confirm you.
Yeah.
Please do listen to the audio version. You guys did an awesome job calling in, leaving us your thoughts. 855-VERBAL-3 again is the phone number. Verballers.com is where you can go if you want to vote in the Verballer Top 12 poll.
Yes.
That's going to drop bright and early. Again, everybody, a free, a certified, a premium. Everybody's going to get access to it this week. So I want to get everybody's thoughts.
Flonase is not a sponsor, could be.
Not a sponsor, could be.
There
So for that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrand, thanks for hanging with us here. Bit of a different show, bit of a different look, bit of a different feel, but always good to be with you out there in the Verballer hood. We will talk to you all very soon. Stay tuned to our social media feeds. Stay tuned to pretty much everywhere you can find us, because a little bit of a different schedule being so we're doing this today. So more to come on that front. But in the meantime, thank you again for tuning in and have yourselves a good night.